Okay, here we are, first day of Rosh Chodesh, Lamed Tishrei. Lamed, the word means to learn. So this is the day, somehow we're going to pull from our Tanya, learning that we could say this is, describes Tishrei. But before we do that, Gadol Torah, greatest Torah, that it brings refuah to the world. Who needs a refuah?
Baruch ben Yamin, ben Rachel Blima, Yehudas Golda Basal Litachana, Chaim Yaakov Zev ben Sarah, Yosef Yitzhak ben Leora, Shoshana bas Hana, Gary Robert, son of George, Yaakov Shaul ben Hana Miriam, Yehudit Gila bas Rachaleah, Hindik Yehudas bas Kaylee.
Anyone else? Refuah Shlema B'Korev.
Menachem Yehuda Nisan ben Rezel Tzivia, Rina bas Rivka.
Refuah Shlema B'Korev. Yitzhak Shrag ben Brian Malka. Refuah Shlema. One more?
Aryeh Leib ben Hayamushka.
Refuah Shlema. Okay, Hayom Yom. We're going to do today and Shabbos. Today is very short. Since we're doing it's Rosh Chodesh, so there are a few instructions in Hallel. Repeat the Haidul Hashem after each of the next three verses. Much of this is written in the Siddur, by the way. Yemenu, we say that even if you're davening alone. And the verses, Ba'avram Zokin Bo B'yomim and Zavadi Yishmarenu are said three times. As I said, most of this is written in the Siddur. But do remember, today is Rosh Chodesh and say Hallel. For Shabbos, at Mincha, and on Monday and Thursday of the approaching week, Lech Lecha, the third Aliyah, Yisrael, begins with Vayera Hashem el Avram. Hashem appeared to Avram. So Lech Lecha is the story of the major root of all of our neshamas, Avram and Sarah, Lech Lecha. So the Rebbe, my father, told someone at Yehidus, ever since God told our father Avram, go, Lech Lecha, from your land, and it is then written, Avram kept traveling southward to the south, which is, if you're facing west, which is where the Shekhinah is, the south is on the right, so the south is the side of kindness, and that's the Midah of Avram. If you're facing southward, we have the beginning of the mystery of the Birurim. He's going on a journey. What is this journey for? Birurim, rectification. By decree of divine providence, man goes about his travels to the place where the sparks that he must purify await their redemption. And this is, I think, a profound, it's a profound teaching, but it's a profound teaching to absorb, that wherever you are, this is where you've been meant to be because there's work here for you. Tzaddikim, who have vision, see where their birurim await them, and they go there deliberately. As for ordinary folk, the cause of all causes and the prime mover brings about various reasons and circumstances that brings these people to the place where lies their obligation to perform the avoidance of birurim. And here we are doing it. Lessons in Tanya. Continuing our saga of the Islabshus, the enclothement of Elikus, ultimately in both the holy and the unholy. We are on page 98, the 30th of Tishrei. This Lessons in Tanya. And over here, excuse me, it's at the bottom, a new paragraph begins at the bottom of page Kof Mem. Okay. So we have described, first of all, I put on the table the point that we'll utilize here, two ways in which Hashem manifests his light. One is called panemius, where the light becomes invested in, it becomes integrated with the vessel in which it's shining. And that light is the light that's primarily integrated in the Nefesh Elokis, so that the Jew, us, we carry around that panemius, that integration of godliness within us, and our only but major job is just to arouse the awareness of it, number one, and then utilize it to fulfill the avoida of birurim, of clarifying, clearing out all the dross and negativity and allowing the positivity, which is the connection with Hashem through his mitzvahs, to emerge. Whereas the other nations of the world, who are equally alive as we are, right? But their life force is inherently different. It's coming from what's called the makif. The other pair, besides makif and panimi, the other pair that we've already used is front and back, acher v'kedem. So front is called panim, which is face, which is the same word as panimius, and acher is the back, as in sitra acher. And that's a makif light, which gives life, but it doesn't penetrate and integrate the holiness the way that the panemius light does. Okay, with that background, Lamed, we'll do Lamed, and of course Aleph, because doing Shabbat, Friday and Saturday, Friday and Shabbos. V'hine, nefesh ha'adam, the soul of a person, Yedua, is known, l'chol, to everybody, shehi kalula meyud sfiras Chabad. It contains the 10 spiros Chabad, Chagas, Nahim. If anybody has any questions, please ask them. Now, what we're doing here, we're introducing a paradigm. We've been talking about the or as it's from the perspective of godliness. Godliness is called the Odom HaElyon, the supernal man. But Nasa Odom B'Tzalmenu Kedemusenu. God created us in his image, in his form. So the 10 spheros, which constitute the expression of godliness in the shape of a man, are echoed in ourselves in the terms of the 10 powers that we have from Chabad down to Malchus. So, now even though all of these 10 powers, these Eser Koichos, or these Yud Sephiros, Koichos in the person and Spheros in godliness, even though all of them come from God's mouth, his blessed mouth, but you can see as it's written, V'yipach ba'apov nishmas chayim, that he blew a soul of life, or a living soul, either way, into us. So that soul is coming. Where does your breath come from? Your mouth. We call mokim, even though that's true, derek prat, and we can divide that breath of mouth into, it gets divided into subdivisions, that's singular breath, Chabad, Shebenavshe, Chochma Bina Das of the person's soul, which are Hein Dugma Lechabad Shebiyut Sephiros, which are comparable and which echo the Chabad of the 10 spheros of godliness. Amachuna b'shem Ava v'Ima, which are called mother and father, Chochma and Bina. And then we also have, of course, Midos, Ava, V'yira, etc., Shebenavshay, in our souls. Ein Dugma Lamida Shebiyut Sephiros and B'shem Zah. They are echoes of the attributes of Hashem, the Yud Sephiros of the Midos, which are called Zah, Zeir Anpin, the small faces, as opposed to the large faces. These are the Midos. And Koyach HaDibur, Shebenavshay. Hashem's power of Malchus. Remember, Malchus is another name for Shechina. So we have that also. You kind of openly said about Moshe Rabbeinu, Shechina midaberes metech groinoi shel Moshe, that the Shechina spoke from the mouth of Moshe. And in Sichos, many Sichos, the Rebbe says that every one of us has a spark of Moshe Rabbeinu in us. That's the spark of the Shekhinah, or which is expressed in Dibur. God speak and humans speak. The koyach hadibur shebenafshay, the power of speech in a person's soul, which is dugma, which is comparable the dibur ha'elyon, to the supernal speech, hanikad b'shem malchus u'shechina, which is called kingship or queenship, regnancy, rulership, and it's called shechina. And therefore, so the point of this is soon the end of today's Tanya. Therefore, since the Shekhinah is meant to come out of our mouth, that's what we're designed for. That's what the mouth is designed for. In addition to being the entryway to eating, when it expresses something, meaning brings something from the inside out, what it's designed to bring from the inside out is Shekhinah, which is ultimately Geula. That's what it's designed for. When a person speaks Divrei Torah, since this is a correspondence, right? The Shekhinah, the mouth down here, is a correspondence to the mouth up there, which is the Shekhinah, the Malchus of Atzilus, or even higher. So when we speak words of Torah, Me'ora Dibra Elyon, we arouse the supernal speech, the Yachad HaShekhinah, to cause a unity of the Shekhinah. And it said, Yichud Kutchebricho Shechinte. We say that before davening. That the whole davening is to the Yachid, to Miyachid, to unify Kutchebricho, the Holy One, blessed be He, Ushechinte, and His Shekhinah. So when we do words of Torah, he's speaking about here, but it's also true of words of Tefillah. All of that is to create a yichud, a unity between down here and up there, which is through the Shekhinah, through the unity, the expression of speech, which is Shekhinah, which is Malchus. And for this reason, Kaimalon, which is established for us by our sages, the Krishma Ube Bechas Hamazon, when it speaks, in terms of the halachas of Krishma and the benching, Bechas Hamazon, and Divrei Torah and words of Torah, but you can't fulfill these mitzvahs without speech. You can't just think them. And now you know why. Because our speech down below is a reflection of God's speech down below. So when we speak it out, we create an energetic that brings forth the divine presence of speech up above, which is the Gilui, the revelation of the Shekhinah. Not light stuff, right? All right, that's today's Tanya. Going further. Okay, well, before we go further, any questions on that?
No, I don't have a question, but I'll just say that, yesterday's Hayom Yom, where, everyone put their arms around each other, it was based on, someone's speech, that the speech is very real. It's actually creating something, just like Hashem's speech creates, I guess.
Yes. And I think it's worth at least remembering that Yom Yom yesterday was talking about, here we're speaking about something positive. Then yesterday Yom Yom was speaking about negative. It has the same effect. If the speech of the mouth is coming, not speech of kedusha, not divrei Torah, not divrei of tefillah, not divrei of kedusha, it has an equal and opposite negative effect, which is what we're going to speak about now. This opposite that. If we use, this is the total thing. Everything that's created on the side of kedusha has a equal and opposite on the side of klippa. And we were speaking about speech, and that's why Lashon Hora is so hora. It's so horrible. Because if Lashon Toiv releases God's Shekhinah, the presence, which is Geula, then Lashon Hora has the total opposite effect. It releases a force from above, which is continuing and deepening, God forbid, loyaleno, the Gullus. So that's the opposite side. There are, this is the language of Kabbalah, there are 10 crowns of impurity. Now this harks back to crowns. Remember this, the negative side is getting a makif. It's not a panimi. It's not something that penetrates, wraps around, and becomes one with the koichos. It's enlivening, as it were, from above, or in the mashal that he's used before, from the other side, the acher, the back side, rather than the front side. Okay, and this is umahem nimsheches, and from these 10 crowns, language of Kabbalah, crowns of impurity, are drawn nefoshes of the gegulen, the souls of those who are idol worshippers, which agam ken kalula me'eser bechinas elu mamish, which they, just like our souls, are reflective of the 10 spheros of kedusha, so their souls are reflective of the 10 crowns of impurity, mamish. And this is known, the oretz, this is its expression, and this is known in the earth. In other words, this is very well known. Masha Kasab Sefer Hagilgulim, that which is written in the Sefer Gilgulim from the Arizal, on the pasuk, it's a pasuk in Keheles, Asher Sholet HaOdam BeOdam L'Ral, when one man rules over another man for his evil. This is where Keheles says, I've seen everything under the sun, and I've seen one man is ruling over another for evil, Now, it's interesting. Lessons in Tanya doesn't touch it, the simple meaning. It touches a Hasidic interpretation of the simple meaning. The simple meaning is that it damages, there's a damage being affected here, which is the negativity that's released through the unclean klippas. The Hasidic turns it around and says, L'ra'ale doesn't go on the person, it goes on the klippas themselves. That the end game of the klippas is it's going to be bad for them because they are going to be broken open, cracked open, and the light, that's the intense light which has been captive in the klippas, is going to be released, and it's going to be bad for the klippas. Okay, but the simple meaning is it's bad for one man inflicts badness on the other. Shehu soid galus HaShekhinah, and that is the secret of the exile of the Shekhinah. And it's a very profound thing, because it's so simple. If you look around and you see, and this has nothing to do with politics, but just think about this election phase we're in. Each person is just speaking total degradation of the other and hoping that that will help to elect them. Yes, they're articulating or trying to articulate something positive that they're doing, but by and large, it's a lot of just dumping on the other. And that's gullus. That's what he's telling us. That's gullus. When people speak bad of each other, that's so the gullus of Shekhinah. That's the secret of the gullus of the Shekhinah. The teicha klippas, amongst the klippas, the hachayosim, and it gives more and more life to them. The more that we do it, the more that it's done, the more life that it has. L'hashlitum, and it gives them more dominance and rulership. Bisman hagalas, it's feeding the klippas. Aval hularale, but eventually, it's for the evil. This is where it gets the Hasidic touch. Therefore, eventually, it's for their evil, because their end is that they're going to be destroyed. The simple meaning, Adam Raloi, where it's bad for the person, goes on Adam of Kedusha. The Adam of Kedusha is being, as it were, perverted through the klippas. Therefore, those who are in that category of serving idols, are Yisholtin al Yisrael. They rule over the Jewish people in the time of Gullus, right? Because they embody the Gullus sparks. They're Sholtin al Yisrael. Since their souls of these idol worshippers are from the clippers, which the Shekhinah, the divine presence, is enclosed in them in a state of galus. So they have the power, but the power is directed to negativity, destruction, deterioration. What a friend of mine calls it, de-evolution, the opposite of evolution, the falling apart of humanity. Even though this that we've just said requires a lot of explanation, a lot and a wide amount of explanation, nevertheless, it is the truth. Ella, however, nevertheless, we have to know that all these clippers are receiving their suckling, their sucking and enlivenment only only from a aura, a ray of Elokus, of godly light, which is from the backside of kedusha. Kamman the basar kaspov, like one who's throwing it over his shoulders. Hashem gives it to them so-called reluctantly. But that reluctance has a lot of power. The reluctance, of course, is because it's going to create a darkness, which is going to be very difficult to prevail over. But the end game, of course, is that darkness, because it contains such a powerful light from a way high level, is going to be prevailed over and is going to be broken apart, and that will reveal the light which is more powerful and more bright and more sense of godliness than ever has been revealed before. But it's a hard road. Hard road. Nevertheless, yeah, not nevertheless, and it's thrown over his shoulders, and with this comes a lot of tzimtzumim, contractions, and coverings, many contractions, which are very strong, until this ray from the backside becomes enclosed in the physicality of this world, and it causes a flow to those who are idol worshippers. And what's their flow? They get rich, they're coveted, and they get a lot of honor. They're called tainugim gashmim, and they get all kinds of physical delights. Yisrael, on the other hand, the Jewish people, we suck from the face, the front of the energetic, of the supernal energetic. And Mishikosev, as it says, Yera Hashem panav elecha. Hashem shines his face to you. Each one is shining, each one of us shining with the irradiation of the outpouring of God's panemius, each according to the root of our neshama, Adoraim HaMailus, to the highest levels. And that's the Tanya for Shabbos. Okay. Comments, questions on any or all of this? Rosa.
Yeah, good Kodesh.
Good Kodesh.
So there is someone in Israel. You could go and ask him for a bracha, and I went with my daughter. His name is Harav Gamliel Rabinowitz. He has a yeshiva for Kabbalah, Yeshiva Semekubalim, and he doesn't accept money. He can't give donations. He gives out like a paper where you take upon yourself a mitzvah, a Kabbalah, and that's the only thing he'll accept. No choice.
Okay.
So I took upon myself to say Berkas Hamazon out loud. Like, at all these years, I thought that saying it out loud, like, that's an extra, but it's not an extra. That's what we learned today.
That's right. You're not Yotzi Divrei Torah and without bringing the word. You don't have to say it loud, but you have to bring it to an audible level. Yes.
To an audible level. And so
Yeah.
many people are not aware.
Yeah.
You see that. You see that many people are not aware of this, that it's not an extra.
No, it's not an extra. Fundamental. Good point. I mean, not only good point, simple and expressive of the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah wants to be expressed. Shekhinah is Malchus Peh. It's the mouth. Essential. Exactly.
And in a more humorous way, I was once at a Shabbos weekend kind of thing where you had some people who were new to Torah observance and some people who were from forever. And at our table, there was this couple, and this person said, okay, so we're going to bench now. And he sees everybody just like about to start mumbling it. And the next meal, he didn't sit with us. That couple didn't sit with us anymore. He wanted company that respected Birkas Hamazon.
Well, mumbling it is, I mean, you can say it quietly. But if is that what he meant by mumbling? Maybe not. But you don't. But of course, the more clearly, I think. I mean, it's just simple, right? The light becomes more clear. The light becomes more predominant, etc., etc. Hayenka, you're up.
Yeah, I was thinking about the difference of how I'm going to say our enemies speak from the backside, and we're speaking, God willing, from the front side.
Right.
And it makes me think maybe it's more why they hate us, because it's coming from the backside of the cleat. It's coming from there.
Right. And so you're thinking what?
So it just kind of made things a little bit more clear, because they're coming from a completely different. We're coming from a place of kedusha, God willing.
Right.
And our enemies are coming from klipa.
So the way I take that, the expression ma'at or a little bit of light can dispel a lot of darkness. We have an obligation and a responsibility to ourselves to tell it like it is. To really, wherever we are, say the panemius, because that light will dispel the darkness eventually. They have no chance. The end game of the clippers is it's going to be rectified. It's going to be torn apart. It's going to be opened up. Maybe that's a nicer way. It's opened up and the inner light's going to shine. And we are instruments of that. So we have to take that responsibility and that capability we have and speak just plain and simple the truth of what the Jewish people is and what our destiny is and the importance of what we have been given by God to do here on planet Earth. We have to let it shine.
I guess so. I think, it's so hard when you see so much anti-Semitism and hatred coming from so many different angles these days.
Right. It's hard.
It is hard.
You bet it's hard.
And knowing it's coming from Hashem.
Yeah. And there's a lot of instinct, which I'm not agreeing with, which is to just shrug and walk off. What can we do? Just let's be quiet. Let's not make a stir. Oh, no. We have to make a stir. I mean, we're making a stir in Israel, but I'm talking about, we're making a storm. That's what the Rebbe called it, a storm, right? With our tefillahs, with our tillim, with our interactions with the non-Jews. Let them know. Just speak the truth, because the emes will prevail if we bring it forth and allow it to. That's my little soapbox here. Anybody else?
I want to say that it's interesting that, I don't know if this is connected to today's Tanya. I kind of thought of it while we were doing today's Tanya, but in Parshas Noach this week, all of the 70 nations are listed in this Parsha, and it came up in our class the other day. And that I think it's interesting that we have the light and we have the responsibility to talk to the 70 nations about our... That's it.
Okay, you're right. You're right. It's interesting. It's what we were created for. All right. Anybody else? Last chance before Erev Shabbos gets really moving. Okay. Yemir Hashem, we'll see you all Sunday. Good Shabbos, good Chodesh.
Good Shabbos, good Chodesh.
Shabbos.